Well, I'm going to get us kicked off. My name is Susan Arnold Christian. I work full-time for SHIP. I work out of Kansas City, Missouri. I've worked for SHIP now for just about 4 years, but I've been involved with SHIP since the late 90s. I met my first SHIP Tina group in the late 90s in Kansas City at Hallmark here, and have loved the familia and the community ever since. And so I'm just excited to be here. One of my favorite things that I get to do at SHIP is work with the mentorship program. I think that it's a well underutilized resource at the national level, at the virtual level. But I also want to recommend that if you all haven't connected with your regions and your chapters in their mentorship programs, I encourage you to do that. And if you need help connecting and finding the right people, please message us at mentorship@ship.org and we can help you find those connections and get going. That's really where the mentorship program began, was at the chapter and the regional level. And a lot of them have programs where they do this in person in local communities. The mentorship program at the national level is a virtual program, and I will throw the link in the chat for you all. It's a great resource that you can go online now, anytime, and set up your profile and connect with a mentor or mentee. So we're going to be sharing some of the resources about this, but I'm excited for this topic tonight. We've been doing this Navigating Mentorship series for the last year or so. Our speaker tonight is someone who I've talked a lot with about mentorship, and I know he's got a lot of great insights to share with you. But as we were talking about where is mentorship kind of going at SHIP and what could we be doing differently, and really talking about using mentorship as a career strategy. I know a lot of people have career goals as they connect with their mentors and their mentees. So we just kind of want to talk through some of those options and some of those resources and different ways to think about mentoring and connections. So just a little bit, so you guys have already been doing this. Thanks so much. Throw in info in the chat. Use this time to network with each other. Are you a student? Are you a professional member? Are you currently working? Where are you going to school? Have you participated in a mentorship program before? Have you been a mentor, mentee? Anything you want to throw in there and just kind of start to network and really use this time to connect with each other. I also really encourage you that as Carlos is talking through some of the content and some of his insights, share your ideas, share your resources with each other. It's so much more fun when you all kind of comment and add your knowledge and your expertise in this space as well. We really want to see that. We all have things that we can learn from each other, so please feel free to share your ideas, share your resources within the chat. And then just a little bit about what we want to do here today. So we are going to be, again, encouraging you all to network with each other using the chat, using messaging to do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about the mentorship program overall, and then Carlos is really going to take the rest of the agenda and talk about some of these concepts of mentoring as a career strategy, the differences between networking, advocacy, and sponsorship, and really how to use this and leverage these resources for yourself. So just a little bit about mentorship. I'm curious if you want to throw in the chat, how many of you have never heard of the mentorship program that we have at the national level? You've not engaged with it. This is brand new information to you. Raise your hand, give me a thumbs up. Yep, I see, I see multiple. Okay. So you can use this QR code here on this screen. It's a very simple website. It's just ship.cronus.com. And I'm going to throw that so you can see how to spell it in the chat. This is a website that is managed by SHIP. It's a one-on-one virtual mentoring program for you. You can go on there and sign up and get going today. It just takes a few minutes to kind of set up your profile. The connections are meant to be 3 months long, but they can be as long or as short as you need them to be. It's really driven by the mentor and the mentee. I have some people who were connected for like a month and a half, and some people who've been connected for over a year. Just kind of depends on what your goals are and what you want to do. The system has a matching algorithm in that So it's going to look at your profile and tell you what mentees and what mentors it thinks that you would have a good match with. And you can adjust that algorithm. There's no secret to it. There's a place on there where you can, there's a little training and tutorial video to show you how to adjust the algorithm so you can get what you really want out of it. What the algorithm is really looking at is it's looking at the topics that you say either as a mentor or mentee that you want to talk with someone about. The mentors and mentees have that same list, and it's looking for matches that have the highest number of topics that each other wants to talk about. So it also takes a look a little bit at your geographical area, your time zone that you're in. I'll have a lot of people say, Susan, it doesn't matter. I can connect with anybody at any time. But then they only give their mentor like maybe like, Saturday at 9 p.m. is the only meeting choice. Time zone probably does matter to a lot of people. So it looks at that a little bit. It looks a little bit about your STEM area discipline. Um, but again, you can adjust the algorithm and you can kind of bypass that whole process. But that's kind of how the connections happen. The mentee has to be the one to actually initiate the connection, say, I want to connect and establish that. Mentors, you can go in there and you can offer mentoring. You can message mentees and say, hey, it looks like we have a lot in common. Do you want to connect? But the mentee actually has to be the one to do it. And that's really because this program is very much centered on the philosophy that a connection should be mentee driven. I promise you, no mentor wants to sign up and drag a mentee through this process. They want the mentee to take the leadership in this and say, hey, here's my available times. What times would work for you? Here's the agenda. Here's my goals. Connecting in between the meetings. Hey, here's what's been going on with me. What's been going on with you, and really taking the leadership on the connection. That's what the mentors are really looking for. And those connections are really going to be focused on the mentee goals. But you can go in there, you can sign up, and there is kind of a on-demand training tutorial process. And our final slide today, there'll be another QR code that if you ever need help navigating that system, you can connect with me for a quick one-on-one, and I would be happy to meet with you and walk you through that process. So with that, I'd really like to give the bulk of our time to Carlos Avila here. You can see a little bit about Carlos. Carlos and I can't even remember how long we've been connected now, Carlos. It's been a little while.
Few years, yeah.
But I will tell you, one of my favorite things about Carlos is just his willingness to learn and his willingness to serve and kind of put himself out there in both the mentor and the mentee role. I don't know about you all, but it's pretty rare to find someone who is, seasoned in their career who says, I also need to have I also need to have mentors, and I want to have mentors who are younger than me. I really want to learn from the younger generation. I want to learn what's coming up, and I think that's so critical. And I love that mindset. Mentoring has definitely gotten me in my career where I have been, and I love getting mentored by younger people. And so I just am excited for you all to hear from Carlos today, and some of his insights and his lessons learned. So Carlos, I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure being here with you all tonight. I'm in San Diego, like I typed in the chat. And it, I enjoy participating with Susan on these events and hearing from her, learning from her, because it connects me with someone outside of my, current sphere. We'll get more into that later. But through mentorship, I guess that's a common theme. That's why we're all here. And it's also the matter of, the reason why I met Susan. I reached out to mentorship. I don't remember, Susan. It might have just been a general kind of inquiry, but here locally in San Diego, I had been practicing civil engineering for, let's see, 15 years. This was 2017, 2018, so almost 10 years ago. And I reconnected with our San Diego professional chapter. Somebody, honestly, it was an ex colleague, and he said, "Hey, Rick Engineering, that's where I work. It's a civil consulting firm here in San Diego. He said, "Hey, Rick Engineering has strayed away from ship for the last couple of years. Would you be interested?" And I think it was a banquet, awards banquet of some kind. So, I went to the event, and I forgot how, all the emotions that this familia brings, that the energy that the local chapter at the time had. So I started re-engaging slowly back with SHIP, and I say that because when I was at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, um, I was active in the student chapter, but at that point, it'd been 15 years removed, right? Um, so right before the pandemic, there was a change of scenery here in San Diego. A lot of the SHIP leadership went on different ways, and the chapter was struggling, to say the least. And then the pandemic obviously did not help at all. And that's when I started just taking matters into my own hands a little bit here locally, and started reaching out to friends in the industry and coworkers and whatnot. And I learned of the mentorship program through the national chapter, and it piqued my interest. And I said, like, this is where my passion lies. This is where I could um, create the most impact. And years later, I guess it's 6 years since the pandemic. It's hard to believe. I'm now here locally at the San Diego chapter, the director of mentorship. And in trying to start up those efforts, I found Susan. First as a resource, then, you know, um, as we got, to know each other and deeper in conversations, that's when I started bringing up to her some of the things she was mentioning, that, hey, yes, I'm doing, and I'm searching for ways to ignite our chapter and find ways to, um, talk all things mentorship, but also I can't forget about myself, right? And so if there's anything you learned tonight, just one thing in networking, and mentorship, uh, as a mentee or as a mentor, it's an interpersonal investment. It's an investment that you're making for yourself. That's why Susan said a few times, it's mentee driven. Mentorship is mentee driven. It serves and helps the individual seeking that mentorship. So I wore that hat. I think it was 4 years ago, Susan. Um, I called, on a cell phone call on the way home, and I introduced myself, and I said, "Hey, I've been, I think at the time, 18 years in the industry or something like that. Um, I know where my strengths lie. I also know where my weaknesses are. Susan, through your network, through, people in other states, could you find a mentor for me?" I literally just asked her. I asked her that. This is me. This is where I come from. This is what I'm looking for. And she was able to about a year and a half later, connect me with one of my mentors today, Joshua Salazar, who works at HDR in Michigan, who's a few years younger than me, like Susan said, but a lot more accomplished in the like organizational leadership type thing, and that's where I'm looking to grow my career. So it was a match, and I think this program, mentorship, for finding that for me. So sorry for that long intro. I'll give you guys a background on myself. Again, I was born and raised here in San Diego, the South County, right along the border with Mexico, Tijuana. Went to high school there, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which is 5 hours north in the Central Coast here of California, right between Los Angeles and San Francisco. Went from high school, studied civil and environmental engineering, and I've been fortunate to make my career here at home in San Diego. I've worked for the same company for 22 years now, which I know is very rare. I'm not sure how much I'll get into, we're here for mentorship, but um, there's qualities that some employers have, some teams have, that keep you anchored, and I've had them here at Rick. And so here I am, very happy, and you know, uh, seeking new challenges. So let's just get into it. Why mentorship, right? Why should you care? Why does it matter to you? Why is it important? Again, it's it's one of many interpersonal investments. It's a tool that you invest to advance wherever you are in your career, whether you're a student, early career professional, middle career, or like in my case, you're in a more senior role and still seeking ways to learn, advance, to polish your game. So that's why we do it. For those of you who are students, I'm sorry if I missed the raise your hands earlier, but I know you're out there. Mentorship is a good way. It's a good pathway to go and find opportunities, right? Whether it's internship or full-time opportunities, it's a good way to connect with people who are already in industry, people who are in roles that you may be seeking, but maybe are not completely sure. It's just a good, through mentorship, it's a good way to, take what you're learning in the classroom and hear from industry folks on, how the real world is working there. Once you get into your career, yeah, when I say early career professionals tonight, I'm speaking for those professionals who are just starting their career to maybe about 5 to 6 years. That's what I define an early career professional. And to be honest with you, that's where like my real passion lies. I love helping um, the young engineers, young scientists, young professionals, like really take the next step because you know, out of pure just personal trajectory and experiences that I've had, positive and negative ones, things I've learned along the way. It's just like that nagging feeling inside of like, man, I wish I would have known that 20 years ago. And I'm like always just urging to share that with others. So for those early career professionals, mentorship is a way, to connect with others who could help you navigate promotions, transitions in your career, conflict resolution. I mean, you name it, things go on in the workplace that sometimes you have a little control over, no control, and hearing somebody else's experience or insight definitely helps you. It doesn't hurt you by any means. Um, and then, more in the middle career range, 10-year plus in your industry, that's where soft skills, right? Soft skills that those start taking over. By that point, you want to think that your technical experience, your technical background, your reputation as a technical professional is sound. You've gained trust, but man, there is a whole different world, whether you're in sales or leadership, staff management, other places where the environment is not as technical, and there's a lot of there's sets of skills there and transitions that mentor could help you through to develop those leadership communications, just build extra confidence in you. And Susan, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. So this is maybe the meat of the presentation, but before we get going, does anybody have any questions, any thoughts? I might have gone a little too fast there.
Yeah,
If
feel
not,
free
just
if you're not in a place where you can unmute and ask a question, you can throw one in the chat. Thanks to those who've been engaging. Um, Ask for a call out. Are you a student here or are you a professional member? So mostly so far we've got professionals. We've got one student that just chimed in as well. But any questions so far?
okay.
Okay.
All right. So um, I'm going to take a slight step back and just throw some things at you here. Mentorship, it's a wide topic. It's a very broadly used term. Um, so I always like to describing the types of mentors that I'm aware of. I serve as some of these mentors. I have some mentors in these capacities as well. The most common is your technical mentor. Lots of times that's a colleague at work. It could be a professor. It could be, someone already close to you that shares, in your academic or like professional life. So those are typically, um, not maybe the easiest to find. When you go through the mentorship program here in Q and you enroll, there's going to be plenty of questions as to, what you're looking for, why you're looking for, and different filters and stuff. Um, Keep this in mind. There's career developmental mentors. Those are they tend to be more seasoned professionals. People at your workplace or somewhere else that have experience and that you want to tap into. Those career developmental mentors will help you with some of those career transitions, questions about just your field in general, or what are you trying to get to in 5, 10 years. Um, the Another type of mentor is, your advocate, and we'll get into that here in one of the three pillars. A connector and a counselor, mentor. Those are also, serve different purposes. And then lastly, your idea, your creative mentor, right? Those are very necessary. Um, those types of mentors are the ones like you just go, have a drink or dinner with, and you just bounce ideas off of. Most of the time, they're not in your field. They're just, a close ally, someone who is going to root for you and listen to you. Um, okay, so networking, uh, like you see in the slide, networking is about building meaningful professional relationships over time. It's not about collecting LinkedIn connections, social media connections, business cards. Um, it's really a list of people you want to build trust with. You want to build a relationship with. It takes time. Um, it's always best when there's a mutual interest, mutual understanding. So again, mentorship is mentee driven. I always recommend that when you begin to meet potential mentors and you're trying to find that match, that you be very clear on what you're expecting. What would you like to get out of that relationship? A year from now, I'd like to learn this, that, X, Y, or Z, and then just have a very intentional conversations with these folks. And Usually it's done best when there's a recurring sort of uh, meeting cadence. That's something you decide together, but you as a mentee, you drive, right? Hey, let's meet every 2 months on the last Thursday of the month at 4 o'clock. We'll determine the place later, but you kind of just put that in your calendar. Every last Thursday, every other month, I'm going to go meet, my mentor and talk about, um, whatever it is you have in your head that month. Susan, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if there's questions coming through in the chat, but
We're just kind of
tell me.
reflecting on some of what you're saying too. I was asking
Okay.
what was the most challenging thing that they have found about connecting so far? And a lot of it's about breaking the ice and like kind of what you're describing and what you're talking about, that initial like what is the purpose of the connection? Is it networking? We know like kind of what is that and kind of establishing that.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, no, great points. Well, again, if you follow and you enroll in the mentorship program, you're going to be mentors who already kind of broke the ice, if you will, because they signed up as mentors. They signed up to become a mentor to somebody else. The willpower is there, the time, the energy. It's already been kind of set for you. But very valid, very important question on maybe uh, outside of this program, whether it's a coworker or another student. If you're in school, it could be somebody who's a year ahead of you in school. You know, when you break the ice there, there's nothing better than straight talk, right? Say, hey, a good way to break the ice is say, hey, I'm looking to build my strength in time management. I'm good about taking notes in class, or in the workplace. I take good notes. I follow when I'm delegated tasks. I understand them well and stuff, but I struggle with figuring out how to get to the end. I have a hard time estimating how long something's going to take. And I've noticed, again, whether you're in class or in the classroom, I noticed that, you're not working late, you're not working weekends, you're not studying at 3 in the morning, pulling all-nighters. You tend to have good study habits. Would you mind if you shared some of your notes with me, and like how you go about it during class or in the workplace? It's like, hey, when somebody delegates a task to you and there's a time expectation, how do you approach it? And so you've kind of, you know, opened yourself up. There's a vulnerability already in there, in the air, if you will. And then the person listening to you is probably going to start relating to where you're coming from. And then from there is where you jump. It's like, hey, do you mind if we have a coffee chat once in a while? And then you kind of feel the air, feel the room. And if there's mutual interest there, then you could, have something more structured. But these conversations, it takes time. It takes more than one conversation. You're not going to just, approach someone one time and then have this whole program all set up and laid out for you. But it's okay to, again, it's an interpersonal investment. So there's self-reflection. You have to understand for yourself where your strengths lie, where are your weaknesses, where are your challenges. And then when you go seek a mentor, hopefully it's somebody who could help you, with the challenges. And then mutually, when you become a mentor to somebody else, because that's always great, right? You could, just like myself, it's always nice being a mentee to someone, but you give back helping others, then you could start kind of understanding how both roles there work. Um, so advocacy. The second, we'll just move on here with the pillars. Advocacy happens when someone speaks on your behalf. So those advocate mentors, the people you build a relationship with, build trust. They know, again, they know where your strengths are. They know where your weaknesses are. They make suggestions. They're looking, that they're looking out for you. They want you to improve, to, advance to the next stage. These people, when done correctly, will go to bat for you, at the end of the day. So this is right in line with those early career, middle career professionals, when you're getting passed up by promotions, or when when you think you're hitting all the marks, but you're missing the one mark that is not even defined or written anywhere, and you're having a hard time breaking through. Um, Having those strategic alliances, those strategic relationships, meeting the people that are in the room that you're not, but the people who could speak, in positive light about you, and go to bat for you, and advocate for you, and describe your value to others. That's advocacy. It's very strong. Um, it's probably, you know, think of it as advanced mentoring. It's like the next level from your initial more kind of generic mentorship. But these advocates are in your academic life, in your professional life. One of the um, cool personal stories that I have about this topic is, my friend Ricardo. I'll mention briefly here about him. Ricardo's U Michigan. He's a expert in taxes and taxation stuff. MBA, accounting degree, the whole thing. Very different from a civil engineer, But I met him just honestly playing soccer. We were on the same soccer team and just got chit chatting and stuff. And I like to think of Ricardo as, one of my advocates now, because what happens is, I'll invite him to some of our client events. If we have my team meets for happy hour or something like that. He lives in downtown San Diego, so I always shoot him a text. Hey, Rick, we're going to be here. Want to stop by for some drinks? And because he's known me and we've gotten to know each other, he'll speak like about me to someone or like in third person or something, he kind of just maybe reiterates what I'm already saying about myself and how I'm carrying, myself and trying to, tell others who I am. He'll just tell it like from his perspective, like super loosely, but it's so effective, it's so effective when the decision maker, um, is around you and somebody else is speaking, positive about you. It's a home run, literally. Um, Sponsorship, the third pillar here. Um, a sponsor is somebody who's gonna, not only go bat for you and advocate for you, but actually, you know, take it take it to the other level and create opportunities for you. Whether that's giving you your first internship, recommending you to another, professional in that field you're in, and you're trying to break through. I mean, these are people, these are connections, right? These are your connector um, mentors. But again, you start um, in a casual mentorship relationship where you build that trust, you grow it, you demonstrate enough to an individual where they actually go out and make things happen for you. So not all mentors are going to reach advocate and sponsor level, and that's okay. That's okay. This program mentorship is really great because I forget, Susan, if it's on a 3 or 4 month schedule, but it's brief. So for both sides, the stress is low, the expectation is the potential is super high, but the expectation is tamed. So um, you get to know someone fairly well in a 3 to 4 month period, and then from there, again, if that relationship is really going to grow and you're going to start earning that trust, you could take it offline and continue, just like Joshua and I have. But if you kind of already um, squeeze enough juice out of that 3 to 4 month mentorship experience, then you move on and you find somebody else, and rinse and repeat. Um, it's always good to have multiple mentors wherever you are in your career. You don't just need one, right? Uh, any questions so far?
We've got some people who are, it looks like Jesus may have come off mute and to ask a question. We've got some people, if you're trying to log on to the mentorship platform and you're having any trouble, please let me know. I'd be happy to help you navigate that. I see some people already going on and signing up. So you should be getting some emails. But Jesus, did you have a question you want to ask?
Yes, I did. Are the majority of the mentees like really early career, like
Mm,
in college, like freshmen,
yeah.
or are they the majority of them like a senior level, like senior high school, not high school, but a senior
Mm.
college? Because
Yeah,
sometimes
the majority of the mentees are college students at all different levels. But there is a decent amount of our professionals that are on there too. So we do have some seasoned professionals. We've got some mid-career, we've got a lot of early career. It's a pretty decent mixture, but definitely the majority of the participants in the program overall are college students. And when you look at the rankings of the topics that people want to talk about, guess what the first one is? Job hunting, internship finding. And so that is the majority, but there are I think my number right now, as of this moment, I was just looking, was we're almost at the 3,000 mark in all of our programs. And so there's a decent number of all different types.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the platform lets you filter very well. So you could be very specific. Somebody in this field. I even think you could enter school, right? Student, a state,
Yeah,
region,
you
state, or
can
even the school.
you can
Um,
filter and search for all different kinds of things. People, when they do their intro in there, it's kind of an open space that you can type, a little paragraph kind of intro. And some people will go in and search for keywords in people's
mhm.
introduction, whether it's AI, machine learning, or maybe it's because they're from a certain country or whatever, but there's so many different categories that you can go in there and really drill down to what you're looking for.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. You have to play around with it a little bit because I remember when I first logged in, I was super precise. I'm looking for this, and obviously your matches are less. With the more filters, the more boxes you check, the potential mentor match is gonna be much smaller. So, and then if you don't check enough, then it's just this huge, hundreds that you have to click, and it just takes a long time to go one by one. So it's just finding that happy medium um, for it to work for you.
Ask another question.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you are a mentor and you've been doing this for like a year or two or something, is there like any discounts available if you want to go to like the national conventions?
That'd be sweet. I don't have a budget for that right now, but boy, that'd be that's a great idea. I will definitely pin that one and see if we can put it in our opportunities guide because I love that idea. It's interesting how mentorship is one of, every time we do a needs assessment with our members, mentorship rises to the top. Every time we do a survey with our industry partners, mentorship rises to the top. But of all of our programs, it's actually one of the least funded ones. And I think that speaks to um, there are so many of our corporate partners that invest so much of their time and their investments into their employee resource groups, mentoring, that it's just not something that gets really funded, but it's definitely an area that I think our members want to engage in the most. So excited to see where that goes. But I love that idea. Thanks for doing that call out.
Yeah, I had a question, and maybe
Yeah.
this kind of maybe you already answered it by just saying that, right? So I've been mentoring for a couple of years, and I was just curious, like, is the ship provide any like resources like locally, like depending where you're located at, to maybe meet with your mentee and break the ice, right? Like maybe like, oh hey, like here was like some like tickets to go to like a museum or something like that, like along the way, as you guys get more familiar with each other to kind of explore different boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Brandon,
another
that's
great
that's a
idea.
great question. I want to believe in Susan. You may have more statistics, but I'll just give you my answer based on what my perception is. But I want to believe that most professional chapters have some sort of mentorship program, whether it's formal or informal. I mean, just like the Shiptina's program, or Equipando Padres, or some of the other ones. Every chapter is encouraged to have uh, a dedicated, mentorship director. Again, that's my role here in San Diego. So I got to imagine the other chapters do. So, for example, some of the things I do with my mentees is, we'll choose to meet at 4 o'clock or 4:30, about an hour before our general body meeting, our monthly general body meeting. So we usually pick a place near wherever the host company is going to be. We catch up, we have discussions on what we need to discuss, and then from there we'll go together to the general body meeting, and it's kind of like this buddy system, right? That works very well because it is important. Brandon, thank you for the questions. It is important to um, find ways to connect outside of the virtual platform. It's not always possible, of course, for geographical reasons, but when possible, or even going to a sporting event or going to a music concert together or something, because you could have meaningful discussions having while you're having fun too. It doesn't have to be some formal, very very dry mentorship chat with someone.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely understand that. Yeah, like sometimes you just gotta try different things to build that chemistry, build that bond, and see what they're interested in. And while it kind of makes that avenue a little bit more smoother when trying to figure out like, how to achieve their goals. Right, there's different environments to kind of settle that in. Uh, the other question I had is, I understand earlier you mentioned, hey, this is like a one-on-one, which I really like. right? I didn't get to look at the platform or signing up yet, but could it be a case where the mentor would have is able to have more than one mentee, but still maintaining that one-on-one relationship with each one, or this is solely just one-to-one mentor to mentee operation?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above. What I
Okay.
do here locally is, we have, I'll get inquiries, mentors, mentees. I pair 0 to 7 year experience professionals. Because I should have said in the beginning, the SHIP San Diego chapter of the mentorship program is for professionals only. We have there's other programs, other resources, other ways to support students, and we do that all day long. But this mentorship specific program is only for professionals. So I get inquiries from, again, younger professionals, younger in their careers, and I pair them up with professionals with a minimum of 10 years management experience, staff development experience. When I make those matches, we meet as a group, to your point. So the first session is group. There'd be, sometimes 13 with myself, 13, 11, 13 of us. So usually I have 4 to 6 pairs. But the first meeting is, yeah, as a group, and sit around in a circle, chit chat, have some food, set the stage, set expectations, answer all the questions, because it's a good way to start feeling comfortable, right, in a group. And then I just encourage, each match, each pair to, go about their business, go, figure out what is going to work for you guys. And then we have check-ins. We have every 2 months. I call them the small group meeting. Hey, 2 weeks from now, small group meeting. Here are some potential times. What do you guys think? Run a poll. And then, I get near 100% participation. And so we'll meet in the middle of the 4 month program. We'll meet one more time as a group, just to see how things are going. And then at the end, same thing. We have a kind of like a final small group meeting, where I like to find out, what went well, what didn't go well. And so, yeah, it's good to sprinkle in those group sessions as well. And those can be done virtually very easily, now.
Within the platform too, mentors can have, I believe right now, up to 2 mentees at a time. They would be individual connections. And I have mentors that will say, give me more, give me more. And so it really is up to you as a mentor, how many that you want to have. We can always increase that connection limit for you. We do limit the mentees to 1 connection at a time. Again, just to like really make sure that they're honing in on that connection and doing a really good job with that connection. It takes a lot. It's a lot of extra time, no matter if you're a student or you're a professional, to identify what are those goals, kind of narrowing them down into some SMART goals, really driving and leading that connection, following up. And so we really do encourage them to just have one at a time for
Yeah.
mentors.
Yeah. As a mentee too, it could be daunting. It could be intimidating, opening up in front of someone. I don't think conversations will flow as freely if 2 mentees are, in a space with one mentor, and you're, either competing for space, competing to be heard. Maybe you're not able to like really open up like you would if it was just one-on-one. So I can't say I could, discourage it, but I personally, I've never had uh, mentoring sessions with more than one mentee at a time.
No, thanks a lot for the response. No, it sounds dead on to the other experiences that I had, and it sounds like a really exciting thing to get into. So, no, thanks a lot for the responses.
Sure. So, Susan, we're at 4:46. I know there was a lot of questions submitted. I have some circled here, but you tell me if we jump into those, if you want
Let's
to
just
pick out.
take this time as just a moment of reflection for all of our participants. When you're thinking about those pillars that Carlos helped describe for us, like which pillar do you feel like you're in most need of right now? Maybe just take a moment to think about that. Are you needing somebody to network with? Are you needing an advocate in your life who's in the spaces where maybe you're not, to kind of, um, making sure that you're being brought to the table as for promotions or whatever it is, or a sponsor, somebody who's really going to like put their neck out on the line for you and kind of help find opportunities for you. Which one are you really looking for and kind of why? So if anybody wants to open up their mic and share just a moment of like kind of what stage you're at, what are you looking for? What support are you missing? Is there some action you want to take? Just kind of share some of your reflections. Let's just take a couple of minutes here to do that reflection piece. I always think it's important whenever we talk about this kind of in-depth content. Where are you now? What do you need now? One thing I love about what Carlos was talking about and thinking about these different elements is that it does take time to work into these. I've had some mentors I've had in my life for literally decades now. And when I first started, it was just networking. It was just like, do they even know my name? Like, I want to make sure they know my name. And now they are people that I know that if there's an opportunity that they hear of that they think I'd be a good fit for, I know with faith that they're gonna say, hey, have you thought about Susan for this? And but those took a long time to develop those. And so, yeah, anybody want to share? What are you looking for in a mentorship right now? Is it more about the networking, learning some of those skills? Do you need an advocate? Do you need a sponsor? Don't be
Hi,
shy.
Susan, Carlos, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, Diego, go for it.
Yes, Diego.
Hi, a pleasure. Thank you for the time for today. Currently what I'm kind of looking for right now, I graduated as an industrial engineer with computer science and this December, and I currently work in as an SDR for a very good company, a data resilience company, but I want to pivot more into a technical role,
Mhm.
to maybe into the cloud section software, and I don't really know how to do that right now, so I'm kind of looking just mostly for like guidance or for anybody that knows how to make that kind of pivot and that transition. I do still want to do some sales, but not focus more on the sales development side, but more of like the sales engineering side. So that's currently what I'm trying to get out of this mentorship program.
Love that. And I know we're still trying to figure out how to get you into Cronus. We're going to figure this out. This is not, it shouldn't be this complicated, but
No
we'll get
problem.
it troubleshooted. But
Appreciate it.
there is a category when you get in there to talk with people who have made career transitions, right? That's not an uncommon topic. Carlos, I don't know if you've had any experience with that. I'm sure
Uh,
in your
I have
field.
not. I have not, being at the same same workplace, same industry, same environment for a long time. However, I'm going to play connector mentor here for you, Diego, and I could connect you with Nick Murillo here. He's one of our officers at SHIP San Diego Professional. He works at LinkedIn, um, and he all the answers that that I know you have. I'm pretty confident he'll be able to either steer you, connect you with somebody else, or answer them for you.
Wow.
So,
Thank you. What's his name again?
Nicholas Murillo, Murill. But send me a note or type your email address in the chat, and we could take this offline.
Good night. All
I
right,
got
awesome.
you guys
Thank
covered.
you,
I'll
Carlos.
connect you too.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Anybody else? What are you in most need of right now? A networker, an advocate, a sponsor? You can throw it in the chat. Paul, hey, Paul, how are you?
Hello, lovely.
Good
I'm
Hi,
gonna
to
use
see
Paul.
you. Good to hear you.
the Denzel Washington quote here. First part of your life you learn, second part of your life you earn, and the third part of your life you return. So I'd like to, as engineers, we learn that the learning never stops. So it's like phase
Amen.
one and phase two, kind of merge together in my book. Um, and I was real fortunate in my career. I graduated, even though I was 26 years old when I graduated college, computer engineering. It was 2004. And it was kind of funny. I had, my wife always tells me what were my goals, what are your goals? And I kind of when I graduated college, computer engineering. I got married, had a kid, bought a house, all in the same year. So those were pretty much, other than running for Congress, those were my goals. I kind of hit them, and and I would have been happy just working, happy as a clam. I got really lucky. That person that just said, "How do you be technical?" Hey, buddy, I'll tell you all about it, because my first job out of college was, I heard the horror stories about working for fabs for 40 years and getting laid off mid-career, and you do that and you only know how to work in a fab. So I got lucky. I worked for a small company called EMC, and became very valuable. I almost felt like an NFL free agent every time I was looking for a job, because I worked in professional services at EMC all these years. Dell bought EMC in 2016 for $67 billion and bought themselves a seat at the big boy table, in the vendor space. And so, back to that Denzel Washington quote, you know, when AI kind of came about, or whatever happened, everyone shipping their jobs out to India, my fear happened. I didn't work for Intel. I worked in professional services. So here I am, a very valuable asset in the industry, uh, can pretty much wear a lot of hats. I use the quote, master, what's the quote? Master of all trade, jack of all trades,
Which
master
means
of all.
master of none.
No, see, but
Master of none.
I changed the word. Instead of master. I said jack of all trades, master of all, because the analogy I like to use to recruiters is, when you work for a vendor like IBM, Microsoft, or EMC in this case, and you do professional services, there are no down times. There are no roll. Everything is millions of dollars in the balance, high stress, high. It's almost like, analogy I use is, if you, it's like dog years in the IT industry. Every year you work for a vendor is like 7 years in the IT industry, because you get exposed to so much information. But when these layoffs happen for no reason, like just a couple months ago, Amazon's like, even though we're doing well, we're laying people off. So my question is, my wife's a nurse, and I there was an extended period I found myself in between jobs, and I peaked at like a quarter mil when I was working at Dell. I kind of peaked at that, and that was a great salary, right? You wanted to make more money, you go into technical sales, but when the layoffs happen for no reason, because we were exceeding our quota by 40% at Dell, and they still laid us off. It didn't matter. But my question is how do we maintain that level of income? You get used to a high six-figure salary, but then the industry pivots. You're still very valuable in the industry, so it's not like you can't do the jobs. I feel like I could be a CIO at any company at any level. The confidence is there, the skill set's there. When I had the downtime, I knocked out a master's in organizational management just for giggles, because I'm technical enough. I don't need a PhD in anything. I'll go work on my communication skills. But how do you maintain that high level of income, especially mid career? I'm 48 now, and God willing, I have 20 years left of industry left in me. It's not like we're burnt out by any stretch. And again, going back to that analogy I gave of dog years, and in my opinion, maybe it's just doing stuff like this, getting networking, letting people know what your skill set is. And I always go on LinkedIn and I tell people that are, oh, I wish I could find an A+ into the industry. I'm like, are you paying attention? Because anybody that worked at these companies, EMC, for example, you might want to look at twice. But these recruiters are just so young, they don't even know who EMC was. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. So I'd love to hear your comments on that, Carlos.
Yeah, Paul, so networking, right? I'm not sure what part of the country you're in,
Phoenix,
how
yeah.
much industry there is around you, but
Hmm.
professional organizations, networking, yeah, you being here tonight, we're meeting each other this way. I'd love to, chat later and offline with you as well. Find connection that way. I think that's really the best way. Sounds like you're, already doing a lot of the right things. Um, I'm not sure if there's another platform other than LinkedIn. There's got to be there are more industry specific, but um, you mentioned certifications, you mentioned networking, um, the professional organizations within each field. Um, they have events, whether they're social or more on the like conference type sale. Everything costs money. Everything is time. I do get that, but those are good ways to, connect with others in your field.
Yeah.
I'll say too, I'm not in the technical background like you all are, but I have gone through this myself. Um, Paul, when I left higher education, which I'd worked in for over 20 years, and decided to come back to the not-for-profit world where I started my career, I I was in my 50s, and I telling you, I applied for over 300 jobs during that season, and it was unlike anything I'd ever been through. So I think a lot of it for me, again, was that networking. And I think I've heard this a lot from the ship familia, and I struggle with this too, of putting yourself out there in a real way and being just really transparent and letting people know, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm not looking for. But it took time. It took me a couple of years. And the first jobs that I took kind of coming out of that season was cutting my salary almost in half. And so kind of working my way up to it. So it is a tough time, and recruitment is very hard. I would encourage you to look at some of the I know this is controversial for some people, but looking into some of the AI upskilling that's happening right now. There are a number of opportunities that are being offered to ship members for free. So there's one tomorrow night. If anybody's interested, I'll throw the link in the chat. We have a partnership with Microsoft where they are offering some upskilling codes for people in AI, and another one in Amazon. I'm not going to say I know a lot about that. I'm just helping drive the train for it. But I think it's a very intriguing field that is opening up some new opportunities. And we know that the Latino Hispanic voice is very underrepresented in that field, and it is open to lots of different kinds of STEM careers. So I don't know. I don't know all of the answers for it. I do know it's a tough road to hoe. Yeah. Paul, maybe someday you can start your own
Yeah.
mentoring program to walk people through that, because I know you've been down that
Yeah.
journey yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just an interesting thing to see. It's, uh, my son graduated at 19 with the same degree I got. I was 26 when I got my degree. He did it at 19. It's like my third twin because I really have another twin, a fraternal twin, which is the reason I went into computer engineering. But the thing that I'm concerned about right now, just not only for my generation but for the kids' generation, is just the dog eat dog out there that's going into the industry. I just like this whole outsourcing to India jobs and everything, and going to the lowest bidder and the race to the top or race to the bottom. I'm sorry, it's just ridiculous. Let's be honest. We became lawyers, doctors, and engineering to make money. And
Mhm.
while we're all printing money and trying to make money, it's going in the opposite direction. Like when I graduated, breakfast burritos were only $3, and now they're 12. And when my son graduated with the same degree I got, he's making the same starting salary that I got 20 years ago, which is ridiculous, right? And so for these kids, it's like they're graduating. A, they're having problems finding jobs. B, they're not even at six figures yet, which is no offense, but pathetic. You're an engineer. You're not at six figures yet. Are you kidding me? Go, I'll give you one cert. Go get a Commvault certification or a Nutanix certification. Takes you 20 hours. Boom. Certifications are almost as good as degrees. Now you're guaranteed 65 an hour. Get CISSP. It comes with a job offer. All these different things we're doing. That's what I'm talking about. Because get these. So you once you're at six figures, and then you want to challenge. You want to blow the lid off and get to break the 200 mark and do things like this. And so I just kind of want to exchange notes so we can say, hey, let's hedge our bets, let's put our brains together and figure out how we conquer this and then spread the wealth. We'll make all the Hispanics with all the cutting edge jobs and leave everyone else behind. Yeah,
Thanks for sharing that.
yeah. And
I
it's
do
not
know
all
that
about
we
the
are,
money,
I knew, I
but
do know
money
that we're
helps.
close to time, and I want to just give Carlos the opportunity. I know that you had identified some of the questions that people had asked when they registered that you really thought were important that you wanted to address. So let's just take a few minutes. I know some people will have to head out, and that's okay. I promise that I will send you all some of the information I talked about, the link to Cronus. If anybody needs help with that, I can help with that. There's a QR code there you can scan to book a one-on-one time with me where we can kind of walk it through together and get you hooked up in that platform. I will also send out the information for the Microsoft Ship AI event tomorrow. I'm going to go grab that here while Carlos wraps up. But Carlos, yeah, why don't you wrap us up with any last thoughts or questions that you really wanted to make sure
Yeah.
that we addressed today?
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair if I left, these two questions, two really sets of questions. I grouped them to two different categories. And one of them is, there are a lot of questions as to, how do I get into mentoring? How do I find a match? What can my organization do to, involve me or others in mentorship? And what I like to say to that is a lot of employers are already finding ways to, whether internally or externally, find mentors for their workforce. It's definitely, um, uh, I know I coined it as a personal investment earlier, but it's in the best interest of, like, every employer out there to have programs, to have a formal forum for mentors and mentees in that workplace to meet and match, whether it's through your employee resource group or human resources department or whatnot. But you'll be surprised. I think there's already in the industry, there's a lot more spaces than you think of, that you imagine, for mentorship. And then the last question here, that again, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't share it with you all. It was really a great question. I'd like to end here. The question says, do you think cross-functional mentorship is beneficial for early careers, i.e. business, engineering, vice versa? 100%. I'd loved reading this question, and I could probably talk another hour on this topic, but yeah, absolutely. And it's not just, business, engineering, or soft skills related. It could be, a running partner. A running partner could in a way become your mentor if some of those conversations you're having on your, training runs are about your professional spheres, or if in your school, it could be a past alumni or something. There's different ways to meet people and share those cross-functional ideas. Very encouraged, especially for us engineers, right? We think that we're going to live and die with our technical skills, but it's far from the truth. Good way to just hone in and open up those other skill sets that you have, or you're trying to develop, is by meeting those folks outside of your sphere, outside of your industry. I'd go as far as saying, yeah, I encourage you to seek a mentor that is not in your field. And I always look at sales, I always look at business. Engineering is a customer-led field. Customer service is very essential. It's not just numbers and calculations. You're working at a place, you're working on projects that are going to serve the public, serve customers somehow. So yeah, seeking mentors outside of your functionality is very, very important and highly encouraged. We are 5 minutes past 5. Want to be respectful to you all. 5 out here on the West Coast.
And thank you, Carlos, for being willing
My
to
pleasure,
lead us
Susan.
in this conversation. I'm so grateful for you. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay.